Good evening, everybody. Sorry I had to put up the volume there for a second. But good evening and welcome here to Talking Sports. William Warfield here. Darren Douglas also in the house with me as well. Let me find you on our there you are, Darren.
There I am.
There you are. We got a good show tonight for everybody. A lot of you guys have been following our Twitter feed all day today, but we got author, motivational speaker, and assistant coach right now. Used to be a head coach with all the high school teams around here, and he's got many life experiences that maybe he could tell us about here tonight. But Coach DeAngelo Weiser going to be joining us here this evening. We also got Mack Calvert, the voice of Woodford County Athletics, going to be joining us. And then also joining us tonight is Simon Kenton, women's soccer head coach Rob Zoeller. He's going to be joining us here tonight as well. His daughter Abigail, committed to the University of Kentucky, going to be playing for the Wildcats this coming season. So we got all that going on tonight, and we're going to hop right into it. And let's go ahead and start. Coach DeAngelo Weiser going to be joining us in just 1 second. There you are, Coach. How you doing? Let me turn up your volume and make sure. There we go. How you doing, Coach?
Hey, great to be here. That intro that you guys produced would motivate anybody.
I appreciate that. I got to tell you, Coach, you had an amazing run here lately. It seems like big things happening for you. You got a brand new book out. I know you're working on another one, but talk to me, Coach, about some of the things that are happening right now in your life. And I know you've been blessed with all these great things happening.
Yeah, I mean, we're staying busy working on our second book. We're really pleased with how our first book has gone. Working with a lot of teams in the area, a lot of camps. So we're and doing some conventions as well, some speaking. So we're staying really busy at this point.
Coach, this is your book right here. It's called Winning Your Players Through Trust, Loyalty, and Respect. How did this all come about?
It's just my personal philosophy through coaching and watching and observing a lot of championship coaches and blending together my personality into it with respect to how we conduct ourselves around our players and what we expect out of our players. So it's a whole philosophy as far as I'm concerned.
You've had a great career, Coach. I've been following you, I think, ever since I started. Matter of fact, I think you got me started, when you started there with East Jessamine. I didn't get a chance to cover you when you were over at West, but, you took off that year. You went to Alaska. You had, I believe it was back surgery at the time. You came back with East Jessamine, and that's kind of where you and I began our relationship for a second time. A lot of folks don't know this or not, but I was actually, when I was a freshman in high school, you were my teacher.
Right. Great memories there. At that school, because it was one-on-one. It's a lot of the same philosophy that I like to talk about with respect to working with your players, and it affords a lot of young people a chance with that personal touch.
You're one of the all-time winningest coaches in the state of Kentucky. Has that settled into you now that you kind of step back just a little bit? I know you're working on your book and doing a lot of motivational speaking, but just to think back, Coach, and think about all the things that you've accomplished, that's got to make you so proud.
From the beginning, we had a lot of parents involved, a lot of administrators involved. We started on the field that's now East Jessamine's field, and the whole program has grown through that. And to see soccer succeed in the community is really what pleases me. If you talk about wins and losses, personally, I've never won a game. I've lost several, but I've never won a game. But I've had a lot of players that have won a lot of games over the years, and I've been blessed to have some very good players, and we still stay in touch, most of us, and that's what really means something to me.
I know you got involved early on with the alumni game that they have here in Jessamine County, and a lot of your players. You could just tell, every time I talk to some of the former players of yours, they think the world of you. It's not all about soccer with you, though. It's always been about life lessons and teaching them a little bit something extra outside of the soccer.
It's always going to be, and that's what we're doing with Wiser Sports Leadership. We want to keep that fire burning in coaches to make them realize that it goes beyond the game. The positive impact that they have the chance to share with their players is every day. Every day, those young people look us in the eye as coaches, and they look to us as role models in a world that sometimes can be chaotic, and they need somebody to lean on. They need a mentor. There has to be a connection between a coach and a player.
You certainly had that connection with everybody that you've coached over the years. Like I said, a lot of good things that people say about you, and it's not just about the game of soccer. It's, for me, Coach, just thinking back on it, you kind of motivated me right away because I was starting out, just starting out what we called ourselves Central Kentucky Sports at the time. This was back in 2007, I believe, 2008, somewhere around in there. But I listened in to you talking to your players one day in a huddle, and we talked about this after the fact too. But one of the things that you set out, or that you said to your players, was to start a spark, and it'll create a fire. And I've always thought that in the back of my mind. Anytime that I put my foot forward to try to do something, is I always continue to try to light that spark, or light that fire with that spark. And that's one thing that I took, even though you weren't coaching me, but I listened into you, and it's just always been there with me, Coach.
Yeah, it's finding that, and that's an old Bruce Springsteen song. You can't start a fire without a spark, and I love to play that from time to time. But irregardless, players need to know, and we need to know as individuals, that somebody believes in us, because I think we're all capable of doing so much for other people and even for ourselves. But we need somebody, a mentor, a friend, somebody that says, you know what, I believe in you. I've seen you at your best. You can do this. Let's go.
Talk to me about, I'm looking here on your video feed there, and I think it's pretty cool that, all that behind you there, you got a bunch of pictures of looks like some of your former players or some of your current players there. I know you're still actively involved with Asbury, your assistant coach over there right now, correct?
Yeah, I'm working for Brooke Lincoln, and I don't mind telling you, she's one of the bright young coaches in America. I expect her to take on any job that's available. She's doing a wonderful job at Asbury. She's dedicated to the players. I'm pretty tedious as far as who I would work for. And, she checked me out, but I'm not sure if she knows I checked her out probably more thoroughly. And I've enjoyed working with her, and she's straightforward. She lets you know where you stand, even if you're at my age, and I appreciate that. So I really enjoy it. It's been a labor of love for me to be at Asbury.
Yeah, Asbury's a great place, too, right here in our own backyard. And I know you spent some time over at Midway as well. And there's just a ton of experience that you've got here. Besides East Jessamine, West Jessamine, Midway, and Asbury, where else have you been, Coach?
Well, if you want to count Jessamine County, because that was the very first program. If there's anything I'd like to hang my hat on, is the fact that I've coached the girls at all three high schools within this county, if you count Jessamine County as a school, before they split. And I think that's something that'll never be touched. And the young people that I had the chance to stand in front of and work with and share experiences with is something I'll cherish the rest of my life.
Let's dig into this book that you've got out there. I've read, I'm not going to lie to you, I read bits and pieces of it, but I have read some of it, Coach. And winning your players through trust, loyalty, and respect. When you wrote this, you're sharing a gem with everybody. Every time I pick it up and just look at a couple paragraphs in there, I get something out of it. But what really motivated you to, put all of this in this book?
Well, it's just our ability to try to help somebody, challenges. That book, based on soccer, when I wrote it, has more life lessons in there than just soccer. There's no practice plans in there. There's no practice sessions. It's not based on that. It's based on your actions and your words every day. Let your players know what kind of and what's important to you. And the days there, in the old days, we could tell players what to do, and they were supposed to obey us, and that's been gone a long time. You have to let players know why you're doing something, how it's going to benefit them. But again, they have to trust you. They have to know that you have their back.
Yeah. What has the year been like for you at Wiser Sports Leadership?
It's been a busy year. We started off at the ABCA Volleyball Convention in Columbus. We were invited there to speak just on that book, Winning Your Players. We spoke before about 165 positive feedback with that organization. And then we've done a couple of camps for Jason Nidell at Western Kentucky University. He's a big advocate for us. If you visit my webpage, you'll see a couple of videos that include endorsements from him. He believes in what we're doing, and he lets us do that at camp with the high school players. Of course, Asbury's camp as well. And then I worked with Daniel Sandlin. He afforded me the opportunity to talk before the Jessamine County coaches annual meeting last year, and I felt like we did a good job there, and a lot of the coaches appreciated the message that we brought to them.
Daniel's a longtime athletic director over there at East Jessamine. I know he's a good friend of yours, and you guys, you've had a great, great run over there at East Jessamine. I mean, just overall here in the county, it's been great soccer from youth all the way up. It's kind of a hotbed for some of the stars that have came out of here. But Coach, I understand. We talked about your winning your players through trust, loyalty, and respect. But I understand that there's another book in the works right now too.
There is, and before I leave that winning your players, I just wanted to add also that a German publisher has picked up the rights to that book as well. So it'll be translated in German. And so that's a big step for us with winning your players. But the new book is called Building a Successful High School Sports Program. And we talk about some of the challenges of building a program, starting from scratch, having a vision, having charisma, selling your program. A lot of things that a young coach probably would benefit from reading, from an aspect of, you know what, I'm going to stay here for a while, I'm going to commit to X number of years, and I'm going to build something special. So again, that's a labor of love for us.
Your Wiser Sports Leadership, is that something that you started after you kind of retired away from the high school stuff, or is that something that's always been been there for you that you just kind of picked up a little bit of the pace on?
I'd thought about it for a long time, and I'd been involved in writing a lot of articles for different organizations like the National Soccer Coaches Association. And so I started thinking, maybe we'll turn that into a book. And then all of a sudden it turned into, there's a lot of coaches that are hungry out there for information, not just drills and activities. And there's a lot of players out there. The team building aspect. As a matter of fact, yesterday I was in Winchester working with Tates Creek girls high school program over there, doing some leadership and team building, and I appreciate Coach Allie Tucker inviting me over there. It's a top-notch program at Tates Creek as well. So it just kind of snowballed into almost a way of life, a passion, if you will.
What is it that you ultimately want to accomplish with Wiser Sports Leadership?
I want to work with coaches so that they develop independent players that are allowed to make decisions on the field during the game, and that we don't have to orchestrate every movement. And then I want to work with players from a standpoint of providing them and building them as leaders and bringing them together as a team, trying to get away from that individual attitude sometimes that's prominent in some teams.
Is there one aspect of coaching that you would share with coaches that you feel is more important than any other? It's building that connection always. I see a lot of coaches get hung up on, and I'm guilty as the next person
if you ask a coach what they have in their library, I'm going to guarantee you they have 50 to 100 DVDs. They have web pages marked. They have tons of information in their files as far as activities and drills. Sometimes we leave behind what it takes to really reach a player and to build that trust, loyalty, and respect. So, I think that's the most important aspect in the whole scheme.
Athletes, it's kind of a carousel of progress sometimes with them. Especially today's athletes, it seems like some of them are almost super power at times. But some of the things that we see out there that, hey, I've never been able to do that, or I've never seen that done before. What really separates, in your mind, Coach, athletes now compared to, say, 20 years ago?
Mainly the technology. We hear a lot about it every day, social media and the internet, but they don't need us for information anymore. Players can go online and draw in any drills, any activities, whatever they might need. But where they need us as adults and as coaches is the ability to interpret that information and to deal with it. We read a lot about players who become upset over remarks over social media that where they're might be directed toward them, it just might be directed toward a view that they don't believe in, and sometimes they get themselves in a bad way when they respond over social media. So that's something that coaches need to be aware of.
Yeah. Let me ask you this too, Coach. How can coaches deal with the challenges of building a successful program? I know you touched on it a little bit earlier, but maybe give us a little bit more insight on how they can deal with that.
Just be yourself. Be confident in what you do. Walk the walk. Whatever you're asking your players to do, expect that and even more from yourself. And even more importantly, do the right thing. Make the tough decisions. If it means setting a star player out on a game night and it's against a district opponent or it's a tournament, set them out, because otherwise you're setting a precedent for other players or families to come to you and say, well, you did something special for this player. Make the right decision, because when it all shakes out, you have to have the ability to lay your head on that pillow at night and go to sleep and know you did the right thing. You may not like it, but always know that you did the right thing.
Soccer's growing big right now, bigger than it ever has here, not only here in Kentucky, but nationally, worldwide. But it's always been big in South America and those places. But we got the U.S. Soccer League now. We got women's pro soccer. Big opportunities lie ahead for these athletes that didn't exist before. What do you feel about that, and where do you see soccer going?
Well, I think it's wonderful. I mean, when I first got in the business, we were all coattailing, the women's national team when they won the World Cup in Los Angeles, and big stars like Mia Hamm and Michelle Akers and that bunch. And now there's so many more role models for the young people to look up to through soccer. Even as close as Cincinnati, they're selling that venue out every game that they have. There's a lot of fans involved. People have really bought into soccer, and if you think about it, there's a lot of young people who bring their parents in as fans as well. So we're talking the impact on all the families. So as long as it can support itself from a financial standpoint, I see it growing and growing and continuing it. And it's going to rival some of the other sports as far as for the dollars that people spend.
Who really inspires you, Coach? I don't know if it's just in soccer or if it's other sports, but who inspires you?
Well, I mean, you have to really look at Jessamine County, because when I came here, I substitute taught for 4 years. I basically said, you're gonna find a spot for me, because I'm not going away. But I substitute taught for 4 years. And during that time, I met two people right off the bat that impacted my life: Pat Nielsen and Frank Conyers. Pat Nielsen was one of the best that I've ever worked for. She could give you a hug when you needed a hug, or pat you on the back, but she could also kick you in the behind and tell you to get back to work. And I appreciated both sides of that coin. And I don't mind telling you, I'm sure she would do the same thing. I think the world of Pat Nielsen, a wonderful lady who's done a lot for so many young people in this community. And then Frank Conyers, the football coach, he had the uncanny ability to, if you went to him with a problem that you thought was just the worst problem in the world, he would kind of chuckle or laugh at you. And initially you would get a little upset, but then you would think, you know what? Frank is right. This problem is not that big a deal. And he had a great way of looking at problems like that, and he could impact you right away and put you at ease. So, those two people right off the bat had a big impact on me here in the county.
How big is the sport of soccer been to you, Coach? And being able to talk with other sports outside of soccer and kind of teaching them some of the same things, how big has that been for you?
Oh, it's been huge. I mean, soccer is basically my vehicle that has done so much for my life. I've met so many parents that are dedicated and work so hard behind the scenes, never get any credit. I've worked with some wonderful athletic directors. I've met a lot of colleagues across the state, wonderful coaches that do a great job every day. I've had players that, have changed my life forever. I don't mind telling you, everything they've done from time to time has always affected me in some way, and I really appreciate that. They've always played hard for me, always done what I ask, and I'll always be grateful. So soccer's been huge.
Coach, if people want to order your book, is it still available on Amazon?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. Just look up "Winning Your Players." Go on Amazon. It's there. It's in the Kindle version or the hard copy version. Either one, it's there.
Digital download with the Kindle?
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. So again, if you want to get a copy of Coach DeAngelo Weiser's really cool book, a lot of coaches are ordering it now. I assume the sales have gone pretty good for you as well, Coach, here lately with school starting back.
They have. The season's beginning, and we knew going into it that an unknown author, there were going to be challenges ahead. I mean, the sales have been good as far as people that know me, colleagues, family, people in the area, other coaches, but we're still marketing it really well. So I look for that to continue to progress.
You got a new book coming out, like you mentioned. What other things are happening right now?
We're talking to organizations every day to try to get in that. We need the support of everyone out there. If anyone can help us in any way, just to talk to an organization. This isn't about anything more than a passion that I want to share with people. It's not a lifestyle or anything like that. So if anybody out there can help us in any way just to talk, I'd love to be in front of someone.
Coach DeAngelo Weiser, it's always a pleasure talking with you, and I know we need to get that breakfast in one day so I can get my book signed, by the way.
Yeah. Don't rely on William here as far as getting an autograph, because he and I have had a time trying to get together. Of course, you're so busy, so it's tough, but we're going to get that done.
Yeah, eventually we'll definitely get that done. Hopefully, maybe in the next week or two, if you're not so busy as well.
Right.
With all the sports getting ready to start up at the high school level, we might want to do it in this little window we got, but definitely want to get that done.
We will.
Yeah. All right, Coach Weiser, is there anything else that you like to add tonight to let everybody know about?
Well, I want to kind of mention that, I was fortunate enough in my career to share an office or work with 3 state championship coaches.
Oh, wow.
I worked for Jay Buffin, helping him out with the basketball team, a passionate coach that his players would always do anything for him. I worked with Jody Hamilton in the gym office. I watched him, a thinking coach, a planning coach, a guy that knows his sport. You're not going to outcoach him. And then, of course, Kevin Wright, who won the state title last year. Nobody's more passionate about his team and the sport of soccer than Kevin. So, all those people had a big influence on me as well. I kind of sit back and I kind of read them and try to take the best of what they have to offer and use it in what we're doing with Wiser Sports Leadership. So, I appreciate those people and what they've done.
Let me ask you this before I let you go. With you paying attention to the high school still, obviously that's a great tool for Asbury as well to have you and your knowledge of the high school sports around here. But are you keeping up with the local teams, and do you see any favorite going into the new season?
It's always going to be a battle of it. Kevin did a wonderful job last year. He took the toughest road, and won that title. Nobody can ever question that. It's always going to be a battle through some of those schools that he had to go through. Boyle County, they were down at Western's camp. I look for them to be strong again. And of course, West, they're going to be as strong as ever. So we're keeping an eye on a lot of talent in the area from an Asbury standpoint, and checking those young people out. We want to make those young people aware of Asbury and what Asbury has to offer. So, if anyone's interested, they can contact me and we can set up a visit at any point in time.
Coach, we certainly appreciate you coming on the show, and again, can't wait to get that breakfast in with you and get my book signed finally. So, thanks for coming on.
Hey, we are going to get that done, and I am so grateful. I am so grateful for this opportunity, William. I appreciate it. You don't know how much I really appreciate being here and talking with you.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're grateful for you coming on to the show. It makes our show a lot better.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you, Coach.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to step out for a minute. We're going to take a commercial break. We'll be back. We're going to have, see if we got Rob Zoeller, Simon Kenton head coach. We might have him on here. We'll get with him after this messages from our sponsor.
At White, Greer, and Mack.